See, I don't think I have a southern accent, but the y'all
Sounds a little
just.
southern. Yeah. I mean, on Roland, on Typhon, it sounds cute. Immediately. But that's because he grew up with it.
And he didn't go off with it when I put out this.
What's that?
It's the remote control for the truck right there.
It is.
Yeah.
So we are still going to have one more speaker though before the hors d'oeuvres.
And if they start bringing in the hors d'oeuvres at 5, we should have to stop.
Yeah, they're just picking as soon as they get the display on. Just because if we don't get started right away and the hors d'oeuvres come, then.
Are you guys having trouble down there? Typhon.
Okay, I have this message right here on that.
Okay.
I would have everything stretched, take a break.
All right, is there-
God for our general evil.
All right, everybody, if you want to take a 5-minute break
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, we're going. I'm really glad that you're here. I spoke to him on the speakers or those there. Yes, very
Well, ask me, I'll get some.
Yes.
Yes, sir, hilarious. Now, the thing about East Cleveland,
Dark right.
still sitting with her. Have no tomorrow. Well, I'm gonna start in the kitchen. Fighting with your wall. Not bad, appreciate that. So, yeah, that's. I'll sign anything, I won't sign anything. I'll sign a bill. If I see this paper in front of me, it says, recipient just now owns the civil. I'm not. I was just gonna be a piece of order. There you go. No, I couldn't give them time. It takes about 2 weeks to get them, and I have to talk to them. I haven't had time. Class, 15 hours a week, work full time, so. I know. I have a life and I have to. Even today, I have to miss classes here because I have to do homework. What's that? Suck. Thank you. Thank you. You guys enjoyed it?
Just like the conversation that takes down is forward and up is
Get everything all set?
Everything is, oh wait, why does it keep doing this?
Do you want to change the power setting to one of the
Okay, can I get everybody's attention real quick? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, so if everybody could have a seat. All right. So our next speaker is going to be doing a lecture on psychological empowerment of the left-hand path sorcery. He is the host of Indigo Children's Radio Show. He's also an occultist, a lecturer, and a motivational speaker. Please welcome Lucian Farrell.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Is this on? This is on. Protect it. Project it. Can you hear me now? Very good. Well, as you can see this first slide, we are welcoming everybody to this conference, and if you are here, it goes without saying, you have been able to demonstrate a certain level of mastery with your resources to make it all the way to the heartland of America to join us this day, and I can say that we can't say the same for everyone else who didn't make it. I think it's going to keep asking us this until we satisfy the machine. I'm sorry to be...
Shall I just change it to Windows Basic?
Let's go ahead. We'll just do that.
Okay, I believe you will be free from there.
Great. So this lecture is on the psychological empowerment of left-hand path sorcery. As per the costume and the mask, I don't speak very much about myself, which is the point of all this. We do this on the radio show. It's the same sort of demeanor. And the reason being is because this is about the message and not really about myself at all. In a sort of hermetic quantum way, I imagine that I am you in a male form standing here giving you this message. And on some level, you needed this or you wanted this. So with that, we'll get into it. What little details I'm willing to reveal about myself, I will tell you this. I've been self-employed since 2006 to this very day. Truth be told, despite the name and the fact of Indigo Children Radio, I'm very left-hand path, and I came here to the left-hand path in the occult for money and for power. And I'm here for only one purpose today, to tell you it's absolutely true and to demonstrate the efficacy of magic, as we'll see in these slides. Now, for the studious occult student out there, or the most observant, there is a hidden code in this presentation, so please watch for it. If you get to the end and the answer is clear to you, you will be richly rewarded as I have. I'm out here on vacation, demonstrating that I have nothing better to do except for fly around and hopefully empower people and tell you that you can do the same thing. And through this lecture, I hope that it demonstrates techniques that you can use to duplicate the success that I have. I'm not here to make $25 changes in my life. I'm not here to make $50 changes in my life. I'm not interested in leading a life where I don't make more than 10, 20, 30, and now up to $70,000 changes in my life. Personal statements, I know, so we'll leave it at that. Oh, let's go back one. Okay, the psychological empowerment of left-hand path sorcery. I'll tell you why it empowered me. It empowered me because there are many different places, many different paths we can take to empower ourselves. And out of all the different things that human beings to do, sports, further education, take up a hobby, the first thing that came into my life was this idea of sorcery and magic, that this was an avenue that I could use to change the course of my destiny. I come from a sob story we won't tell here, humble beginnings. So for those of you who had cast aspersions on material success, I tell you right now, I'm not a trust fund baby. Okay, because I have no book to tell you and because my material success has been so great, I thought we would just get to the point, and instead of me compiling it into a book, I'm just going to tell you exactly what I did, because the money is real, and I'm here to tell you it's real, and since it's real, I don't need your money. So I have nothing to sell you in this regard. If you follow me on this story, that's great, thank you. If you follow me on this personal story, we go through here first, the gates of defiance. This is where I went when I started. This is where I slew my gods, the gods of my childhood. I laid them upon some altar in my mind, and I destroyed them, walking away from everything that he stood for and everything that limited me, and it was in this absolute defiant nature. Some people go through a very studious gate, and they decide on some level that the occult is going to be some great undertaking. For me, I took upon myself with a very defiant attitude. Defiant of my religion, defiant of the concepts behind it, defiant of the gods, on a quest to go through this gate and find something great. Something so great that I'm so excited to share with you that I just want to stand here and hopefully this empowers you, because this is the reason I started the radio show. It started off as a hobby, and as we continue to grow and grow and grow, the show has moved into a studio, an actual building. Started in my living room, and now it's in a studio, because of walking through this gate, the very beginning of all of it. My mistake. Initiation. For each one of us, no matter what order you belong to, what secret society, what fraternity, initiation was the most important thing for me when I grasped a little bit more detail about what it was. Initiation of the mind, initiation of your psychology. For me, I initiated myself, but let me explain. Yes, I had joined several groups, etc., the ever studious occult student, looking for the person who was just going to spoon feed me the answer that I wanted. And unfortunately, I didn't find it. I found orders with stratification, pay grades, moving on up, and they didn't satisfy me. And I discovered, through long reflection and a little bit of collegiate level study, that initiation is where it would all begin. And initiation needs to be the single greatest event in your life. The single greatest event in your life if you're going to go the route that I have gone. And what I mean is, you should fear this day. You should be excited about this day. You should build up so much emotion about this day that you can force change on your psyche. Is the way I did it. Perhaps some of you, it's easier. For me, it was more difficult until I took it upon myself to completely go through those gates of defiance and go towards initiation. Initiation of the mind, a way to change exactly who I was, a way to make myself the way I wanted to be. Initiation. Not enough can be said about a proper initiation, something that almost breaks you. Not in the hard way, not in the way that destroys your ego or emotions, but in the way that destroys all the old paradigms, all the old teachings of society, mom and dad, your neighbors. Very important. This is the beginning. So in order to complete a very healthy initiation, or an effective initiation, I recommend that it be incredibly intense, very intense, full of strange elements, something not usual, not the way you wake up in the daytime, not the way you go to bed at night, and possibly not the way you're doing right now. Not for fun. Something that absolutely crushes and destroys the old pattern. Initiation is very, very important. And I think we spend a lot of time being initiated, but no one takes the time to explain exactly what this initiation is all about. And it's simply a changing of your modality, simply a new and better way to experience this three-dimensional world. And we'll talk more about this in just a moment. Initiation, though, what kind of things can we do to make it hard, to make the impact more significant? You can ask questions later, but for now, I submit to you, it needs to be things that are foreign and strange, something so out of the ordinary that it is sacred. Initiation has become something that we can just purchase from this group and that group. Real initiation allows us to cross that sacred and profane borderline. What is the sacred and profane? Well, the ancient man considered the wind and everything that he didn't have an answer for to be sacred, the gods. What is profane? Profane is what we are. They are so self-loathing, so self-abasing. We couldn't possibly make this change because I'm just a broken, dirty worm. That's the mentality we're born with. And unfortunately, that is the mentality that we have taken with us into a lot of our modern orders. So whether an order is going to take it upon himself to study initiation in depth, to really crack that new initiate, to really break that mentality that they so desperately need, then you're rendering them a good service, and hopefully we'll make better human beings because of it. This was us before we were initiated. Human beings of a single-minded purpose. Although that is good to accomplish your goals, this is us before we are, or before the initiation is complete. It's go to school, it's graduate school, it's go to college, it's join the service, whatever the factory conveyor belt tells you to do. And this is your singleness of purpose. Unfortunately, in this unlimited world, we need to see something more. We need to be initiated so that the best parts of our mind can be opened, not the parts on the factory, not the parts that are just going down the conveyor belt of life, waiting for things to happen. Some of you understand this, I know. That's why you're here. Some of you do not, and hopefully this will help you. Let's demonstrate what life is like after you're properly initiated. You lose this single narrow-minded, we'll call it narrow-minded. Single-mindedness of purpose is important to accomplish the mission, important to accomplish the goal. So let me change this to narrow-mindedness. What happens to the magician, the sorceress, whatever label you call yourself, that changes after a great initiation? This is what happens. That is not what happens. Oh, good. What, quite obviously. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it. Gloves, mask, hoods, darkness, ritual robes, etc., etc. Okay, do you see this? A new world, and another, and another, and another. This is the mind after initiation. No longer narrow-minded, but able to see new worlds, new paradigms, possibilities. This is where I went after I went through the gates of defiance. This is what I saw. Limitless. Limitless opportunities. Limitless opportunities make life easy. And I tell you, standing here before you today, coming from San Diego, California, if your sorcery and magic is not manipulating this plane to make life easy, you're doing it wrong. I don't go get a new job to make more money to make this stuff happen. These limitless opportunities present themselves. Seamless integration into my reality. Evolution. Not just the evolution, not just the word, not just the concept. The evolution of you, yourself, evolving from that person that you were yesterday. Very important that we understand these concepts. Step one in our personal evolution. Behavioral modification. Behavioral modification. There isn't necessarily a spell for this that I know of. I'm certain that sigils will work just perfectly to change your behavior. Change what is going on right now. It won't cost you a dime, I promise you. Look at yourself in the mirror and decide to change your behavior. Behavior modification is key to evolving from this broken, diseased society that we could be and moving into a more evolved society. And without magic and without sorcery and without material gain, what do I have to give to my fellow people? My poverty, my sickness. But with material gain, what can I do? Support those charities that Taylor was talking about. Okay, continue my education like Andre's doing. Thought reform. Thought reform. There are those sitting in this room that know exactly what thought reform is. There's a certain light it can be painted in, but when it comes to us and the changes that we are going to make as sorcerers and magicians, thought reform is important. Essentially, it is the deliberate willingness to brainwash yourself. Now, there are negative connotations to this. That's because other people have spent all your life brainwashing you. Think about it. You don't want to admit it to yourself. I don't want to admit it to myself. And the reason why, oh, I haven't been brainwashed. I'm not brainwashed. I'm too strong. I'm too smart. We're all brainwashed. The key is we can brainwash ourselves according to our designs. That is a key. Focus. Not just that. Martial art movies, crap. real focus, hard focus. Once again, free. Focus is free. It's not going to cost you money. You don't need a degree to learn focus. You don't need a 6-figure salary to learn focus. But focus is important. It's discipline. It hurts. It isn't fun, but it's absolutely necessary. Okay, the creation of new programs. One of the final steps that goes hand in hand with thought reform. What is it that you think you're doing right now that's not helping you? Somebody, anybody. Actually, don't say. Think to yourself, what is it that you know you're doing right now? I can think of 1 or 2 things that I can improve starting this afternoon that will make me a more efficient and better and powerful human being. Yes, we're talking about sorcery here. If it seems like we're taking some sort of strange psychology class. Okay, what does this bottom one say? Critical self-evaluation. The final part in this equation. You know, the IoT, who I haven't belonged to, I don't belong to, but I'm familiar with this one portion of structure in their hierarchy, and that is this individual that is critical of everything that you do. If you don't have that, the burden is on yourself to be self-critical, not to debase yourself, not to destroy your ego, not to hurt yourself, but to better yourself, to sharpen yourself. Don't be satisfied with whatever it is you did yesterday. Satisfaction leads to complacency. Daydreams, dangerous stuff. Sitting around daydreaming about what we want, daydreaming about the things that we want to have happen to us. A dangerous business, because it's taking away from that focus point we're talking about here, when then we need to become actionable. The other speakers before me make excellent points when they talk about action. It can't be overstated. Coming to this conference required action from each one of you, to which everyone in this room should be more proud of themselves than you might give yourself credit for. A small room in the middle of the heartland of America with a few other souls. I promise you, there are not people doing what you have done and the sacrifices that you have made to come here and sit in this room and demonstrate a certain level of mastery. But we can do more. We can do much more. Dare to dream. Now, this is the part where you may wonder, oh, you know, some fancy poetry, some sort of existential philosophy. I have none. This is critical to your work as a sorcerer, a magician, whatever you want to call yourself. There's so many labels. To dream, though, to really dream, I don't mean your daydreams. I mean your dreams at night, your lucid dreams. This, my friends, I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, and all I can give you in this brief moment that we're going to share is where the keys lie to change this plane. I promise you, it's your dreams. It's learning to have lucid dreams. It's learning about this reality in this dream world. I promise you, here is where you will find many answers. I don't think many people spend much time dreaming, other than daydreaming, which we talked about, is not healthy, involving themselves in lucid dreaming. Because in lucid dreaming, this is the part where I'm standing up here and I say to myself, when I tell these people, how much do I want to tell the beginner? Do I want to give the beginner that information that is going to essentially cripple his own growth? I don't. Because I'm old enough now, not because I'm so awesome, just because I'm not 19 years old anymore. I'm old enough now to see the value of not giving away all of the important information. So learn to dream, really dream. And it is through this way that material possessions and material gain has come into my life. The kind of stuff that allows a guy to get dressed up and tell his friends, I'm going to Indiana to the Left Hand Path Conference to talk about this sort of thing and pay for it and enjoy myself while I'm doing it. Okay? Through dreams, you will realize this is not open for debate. This is not my opinion. Strong words, I know. I know they are. Trust me, though. To dream, do it and be richly rewarded. Now, pay close attention. For those of you following this secret message, this occult message that's been hidden, pay attention. Do we understand? Someone does. I heard it. Okay. At this point in time, before I depart your company shortly, is where I would give to you these servants. These servants will serve you well. I caution you, though. 3 are daemons, and the other 3 are demons, and they will serve you poorly. They will destroy your success. I promise you. Once again, this is not up for discussion. This is not for you to hear through your ears and accept into your brain and decide that I'm telling you that this is my opinion. It is simply not up for argument. That is what I'm telling you. Let's present these daemons. First, on the left. Skepticism. Yes, we're at the Left Hand Path Conference. Yes, I use the word sorcery to describe what's happening in my life. Somewhere in the world of magic, for me, it has been 100% psychology and 100% magic. The path is psychology. The results are absolutely real. The results of changing who you are in your mind, because this is all we have. I, as Lucian, I don't know anything at all about the gods that were spoken about by the other speakers. I don't know anything about them. I don't know how to contact them. I don't know what they look like. I know nothing about these gods. I appreciate the information, but from my personal point of view, I can tell you nothing of these god beings. But I can tell you about these daemons and how they will serve you. Skepticism is exactly what it is. Just because we're occultists, we should be the best scientists on the planet right now. We should not be this wishy-washy, voodoo, garbage. Well, hold on, let me rephrase that. For those of you who practice voodoo, my utmost respect. What I mean to say is I'm loosely using English words to communicate an idea unto you. All right? Voodoo happens to be one of those things, or just, all right? All right. Skepticism, though. Seriously. You know, unfortunately, we use words to label ourselves. Sorcerer, Indigo Children Radio. And it makes little sense to people. And I know that me choosing those words to describe a radio show lends a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of stereotypical ideas. But what I wanted to see out of an Indigo Children generation, or an Indigo Children people, were people that were smarter and less inclined to follow the bandwagon. Not people that were just going to flee from the arms of Christianity and into the arms of Alex Jones. Now, if you're offended by the Alex Jones comment, I just want you to suck it. I hate that man. Okay, skepticism. Okay, what does this next one say? Experimentation. Experimentation. This is the essence of being the occult scientist. Do you know that the word occult is actually a medical term? It really is. It's a medical term. And so why are we so pathetic sometimes when we pass on this information? I really want you to change your life. I'll be leaving here soon, and you will probably not see me ever again, chances are. But I'm here because the magic is real. The results are real. And this is a ministry of sorts, an opportunity to come here and tell you so. Someone from the trenches, not somebody with their big old scheme like from these popularized documentaries about having your life now and having it your way and all of these sort of commercialism coming from the nice gray-haired man with the veneers and the comb-over and whatnot. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm here only to tell you I'm here only to tell you, as average a person can be, this world is beautiful, and it can be exactly how you want it. But, unfortunately, those are the words being said by Mr. Orange County, San Diego, Irvine, who's on the documentary, but guess what? He already had some sort of MLM scheme behind his words. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Okay, this next one, what does it say? Honesty. Honesty. I myself admit I have lied to myself for most of my life, but I also admit to myself that some of those lies are things I took as truth. We lie to ourselves so much. We lie about what we like. We lie about who we like. We lie about the way other people are. We lie about the way things are all the time. We say, oh, great. You know, I'll garner consensus because this opinion matches so well with yours. And it's nonsense. And I do it every day. And this here is a public declaration. It just reinforces to me in this program, standing here in front of you, of how honest I need to be. But honesty for your own personal travels is absolutely necessary. We are not honest with ourselves. If you do a sigil and it's not working, it's not working. Now, sigils work, okay? That isn't for me to say, that's for you to experience. They do work. But if it's not working, it's not working. So what do we do? Just try something else. There's no reason that occultists should be so shamed in the public eye as a bunch of loonies and fringe and this and that. We should be sharper than sharp. We should be on it. We should be driving this planet completely in the direction that we want it to go. And it all starts in small rooms like this, with these people. That's how it always starts. After this, we do what? We go eat something? We go drink something? We receive a bill in the mail? Yes, mundane things will happen. The question is will we forget to be honest with ourselves, and will we forget what lofty goals we desire out of life? Moving on to these demons, things that will not serve you well. Pseudoscience. Once again, very strange stuff. This man who you don't know, standing at the Left Hand Path Conference, an international affair, talking to you about, we don't believe in this. I don't believe in this. Let me give you an example. The New Age movement is eating up left and right this whole Kirlian photography nonsense, as if that's some sort of real science, as if that's some sort of, we photograph your soul. We found it. It's proof. I'm not saying that you don't have a soul, but I'm saying that that's pseudoscience. That's garbage science. That's junk science. It's nonsense. But we're running from our childhood faiths, which mine in the Western world was Christianity, into what now? Like I said, into the arms of Alex Jones, so that I can spend equally amounts of blind faith instead of believing in Jesus Christ, believing in some reptilian shadow government? It's bullshit. So in our studies, we have the internet. What a great tool. In our studies, always type in that word scam, fraud. You have to do it. Otherwise, we are just fools. Absolute fools. And unfortunately, in order to advance the conversation, I must use words like Luciferian, Satanist, indigo child, sorcerer, so that you can kind of categorize what it is I'm talking about. Well, when we get down to it, there's no reason that my intelligence is for sale, because it is not. Next demon. Absolutely. What does this one say? Conformity. Now, this and the last one is going to be a little bit touchy. I will explain myself. Conformity. I heard a quote, I can't remember if it was High Priest Peter Gilmore. He said, Satanist is the organization. No, wait. Who was it? I think maybe he said Satanism is the organization for people who don't join organizations. I get it. I do, okay? And in this light, we're talking about conformity. You don't necessarily have to conform, and you can join a giant group of anti-conformist people, and I'll still get it. All right? But conformity goes back to these idiot ways that we used to be. Okay, these foolish ways. Perhaps foolish ways of our youth. You know, like I said, not because I'm so awesome, but because I'm not 19 years old anymore. Okay? Because I'm not. But I tell you this, I'm not 19 years old anymore. 19-year-old mentality, conformity. Okay? Very important. A demon that will hinder you at all times. It's very difficult nowadays to call yourself a this and a that and expect people to not imagine that you've conformed to some sort of ideals. But at the end of the day, science will always be science. Step 1, do the sigil. Take out the letters. Smash it into that picture you like. Boom. Is it working? If it is, good. Write it down. What is your journal telling you? We've made this work. If it's not, write it down. Cast it aside or figure out what it was. What was the matter here? What was the matter here? Perhaps, more often than not, it's because we didn't really care. Last one. Okay. I'm not talking about people here. I'm talking about the Sylvia Browns of the world. She's dead now, so I'm taking liberties with her reputation. This is a Left-Hand Path conference, after all. So to a certain extent, I have a little bit of freedom amongst you to also not care. Okay, Sylvia Browns. Who else is another one? Who else is another merchant mage? Silver Ravenwolf, yes. Ooh, burn. Yes. Merchant mages. A hard label. A harsh reality sometimes to confront. Whether or not we're spinning books to pay our rent. Is that what we're doing? Are we spinning documents to pay our rent? Are we rehashing shit that's already available on the internet? Honestly, though. Honesty. Okay? On my radio show, most of the guests I have, honestly, they're not good. I know this, right? Somebody out there likes them, right? That's honesty. Okay? I can't stand here and tell you it's the greatest radio show a man has ever put together. Okay? Because it isn't. But perspective. Perspective is something. But at the same time, we can't be honest with ourselves and say, to each their own. To each their own. How about this one? An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Buddy, if you cross me, I rip your eyes out, and I laugh about it. Okay? Be cautious. Poetry and euphemisms in the occult world are dangerous. It's the way people try to win arguments. I think if we say, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, oh, you're right, Jesus did die for my sins. Makes no sense. Results. Results are everything. Period. If you're not getting results, I'm not standing here. If you aren't getting results in whatever it is a lot of you are doing, you're not sitting here. It's great stuff. A lot of people aren't getting results. You know, a lot of people do. They get on the internet, they get on their little internet forums, and they slap each other on the back like, good job, man. You figured it all out. And really what they're doing is they're just copy and pasting crap from somebody else's copy and paste crap and slapping it on a new forum. One of my favorites is when people try to debunk the power of psychology and then say the results aren't magic. You know what they're really doing on these forums? They're just copy and pasting somebody's dated 1987 study, you know, and claiming that this is it, this is the deal. We made it. Good job, man. And they just paste that stuff on the internet, and we accept it as real. Results are everything. Conformity draws us to a lot of these groups because, don't get me wrong, students, we want to know. I want to know if the stuff you guys are talking about is cool, or if it has value, or if it's worthwhile. But if it's not giving you results, it's not giving you results. And you need to be honest. And you need to be honest of whether or not you're getting good value, because somebody out there is getting results. And it can't be understated who's to blame. Now, this one's pretty obvious. Why do we think that we're standing here looking at this wall with a giant mirror graphic on it? Who do we blame? Ourselves. Honesty. Critical self-evaluation. Absolutely necessary. Not to demoralize yourself, not to abase your ego, not to destroy your emotions or hurt your own feelings, to make sure you aren't lying to yourself. Human beings, most capable species of lying to ourselves. We do it all day long. As a matter of fact, most of this is a lie. A lot of it, in any regard. Results. Now, results. Why am I here? I'm here because of results. I'm here because these are the principles I follow. Yes, very not so occulty sounding, perhaps. Okay? Nevertheless, the results are real. Here's the thing, people. The results do not manifest with the beam of light that comes down, and then the angels start singing, and then all that stuff you wanted to happens, and you say, wow, look at this. It's working, right? What happens is exactly this. Exactly what you wanted to have happen integrates seamlessly into this environment. It integrates seamlessly into this environment. And that is where we can also not become honest with ourselves, because a lot of times your sigils are working, or whatever practice you're going on about, and then it happens, and then you say, this doesn't work, or how can that be? Or nobody's more shocked than we are, right? Nobody's more surprised than we are. So they integrate into this world seamlessly, and this is the part where I need to reiterate that slide about dreams. Some of you know, some of you don't. The dream world is the key to me being able to manifest material gain. Now, manifesting material gain. How subjective is that? Well, for me, it's not very subjective. It's wearing cool clothes. It's having a good time. It's having security, financial security, because as I stated in the beginning, why do we do this sorcery magic stuff? Because I want the quick and easy way. I want to change my reality the quickest, fastest, most possible way. And I have. And I'll say this again. If your magical rituals are not making your life easier, you're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. Okay? Now, on a couple of personal notes, you say, all right, well, how are you qualified to tell us this? Right? Who is that? I'll tell you. Oh, is that Lori? Oh, beg your pardon. Lori already knows. For those of you who know me personally, you know that sob story that I'm not going to tell is true, okay? Come from nothing, worse than nothing, okay? No family, for the most part. But the results need to be real and tangible. And I'll tell you why I'm qualified. Because I came here for material gain, despite the name of the radio show. And material gain I have found. I have zero debt in this life. Zero. Not the student loan that I don't want to tell you that I have. Not the $25 of credit card debt that I don't want to admit to you that I have. No. Zero debt. And 2 properties. One is a house and one is the commercial location where we air the show from. Completely paid for. Completely paid for. Now, this is not a brag session. This is just simply, I need to be able to qualify to a certain degree where my direction for so-called results were. And that is to do this. So because of that, I can tell my buddies in San Diego, I want to be in Indiana doing this for fun. And I sincerely believe that you can duplicate this. And I so sincerely believe this that it isn't in my nature to write this in a book. It's in my nature to come and tell you about this. Okay? To come and tell you about this. Why though? Why? Now, before I say this, all right? Some of you out here, I own your books. Love them. It's good stuff, okay? For me personally, though, my walk in this life, I'm here to tell you it works because I don't need your money. I don't need it. I found a way where you can manifest material wealth, which here we are again, speaker number 3 on day 1. And what are we talking about? Money. Money. Right? Are we going to be honest enough with ourselves and say, this is kind of part of this plane, right? Money. Money doesn't buy happiness. Nonsense. Seriously, though. Seriously. Nonsense. So, with this sort of freedom, now, okay, results. All right? This sort of financial freedom allows my mind to be more free. I believe that my health is much better than it would be. Obviously, I have time. What am I doing on the weekend? I'm actually really mowing my own grass, and then I pop out the little fold-out chair and I sit in it and I have a look around, and I know this feeling. Some people don't know this feeling. This was the point of magic. This was the point of sorcery. Now you say, oh, but we're pretty sure this guy Lucian lives in the same world we do, right? 2 + 2 = 4, and there must be a cause and effect. Yes, there is, but I'll tell you this much. It started with a $3,000, many years ago now, 5 years ago, $3,000 out of the blue. It just came to me. It came to me in that sort of like long forgotten clerical error, you know, bank error in your favor sort of nonsense, all right? And so you can say, yes, that's the reason, right? That's the reason it happened. Okay, after the $3,000, we moved to a $10,000 increment. I mean, don't go out and get a better job. Don't put on an orange vest and dig a ditch harder, faster, and better than the next guy for whatever it is you guys get paid to do that for. Don't do any of that stuff. It was simply there. Why? Because of this limitless environment, and an opportunity came my way where it seamlessly manifested and integrated into my 3-dimensional realm. And there it was, easy as pie. Easy. After that, we've now moved on to a $74,000 out of nowhere magical sorcery stuff, the kind of stuff you want to have happen when you decide to do sorcery in the occult. That sort of deal. No extra effort. No extra work. It's all here. It's all here. And going back to the dream world, is where you will find exactly what I'm talking about. And as I said, those of you who followed this presentation and saw some symbols popping up here and there, I guarantee you, if they make sense to you, and we'll make this available online in the future, you will be richly rewarded. Now, some of you aren't after money. I understand that. Some of you aren't after whatever the same thing, but here it seems like it's a common theme. I'm no different. Why not? I think we spend enough time lying to ourselves about what it is to be here on planet Earth, and this game is seemingly a game set with rules, and it revolves around money. And if you have money, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Like I said before, what do I have to give you without it? Without material gain through sorcery, I can give you my sickness and my poverty. But with real material resources, what can I do for this world? I can share. And why do people share? You think people just get all of this material gain and they say, no way, I'm not sharing. No way, I'm psyched out of my mind. There's the only reason I would stand here like this and speak to you. I really, really have experienced this truth. And I know that you can too. And I know, I've already thought about how many people leave those doors, you get back in your cars and you go back to wherever part of the world you came from. And you cannot let this moment be that moment at the conference where something didn't sink in. You can't let it be that cool show, cool story, bro. Cannot be that way. I didn't allow it to be that way for myself, and this is your moment. So seize the day. And that's it. Questions? That must have been the most thorough presentation ever.
Could you be more specific about dream techniques and how you
Yes, I can. That's a great question. Okay. Lucid dreaming. And I believe Jeremy, Jeremy really knows. Jeremy has some excellent material prepared on this. For my part, yes, dreaming. Dreaming lets you experience the utter falseness of what you think is real. Let me say that again. Dreaming lets you experience the utter falseness of what you think is real. I'll start with a couple of techniques. Technique number one is right here in this dark room. Should you find yourself in a largely occupied dark room in your dreamscape, would be a perfect time to ask yourself, am I dreaming? Okay, but since you may find yourself behind the steering wheel of your car more often than not, or standing in front of the mirror brushing your teeth more often than not, or looking at text messages is a good one more often than not, is a great time to say to myself, am I dreaming? This technique will help your brain get used to this thought process. And then when you fall asleep, you'll be in the dream world, and your actual mind, this is not occult, conference, science-y, pseudoscience. Lucid dreaming is real. And what do we agree about this, Jeremy? It's awesome because you don't have to be a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist to have a lucid dream, period. It's part of our reality. It's part of our humanness, and it's absolutely real. And lucid dreaming transcends all of our existential philosophical nonsense. It absolutely transcends it. So this technique is very key. It's called reality checking. That's what most people call it anyway. I did not invent it. I'm simply a follower of everyone else who said this was a good way to go about it. Reality checking. Then getting into your lucid dreams. Here's where I have trouble finding equal footing with people that claim to have lucid dreams. A lot of times people write into the radio show and they talk about lucid dreams, and what they've experienced was absolutely not a lucid dream, okay? Let me say it like this. Dr. Rory McSweeney, who's an expert in lucid dreaming, actually really says that I say this too strongly when I say this. If you are questioning whether or not you've had a lucid dream, you haven't, okay? If you don't know if you've had a lucid dream or not, then you have not. Because when you're there, it's like this, and I mean it. And that's why it's crazy, and it's wild, and it's weird. Because I can do this here. I've had dreams where I've taken pieces of construction particle board, you know, that OSB board that's all smashed together we use for subfloor and things like that. That sort of stuff, and ground it together in my fingertips, and heard it, and watched the dust flake away and turn into nothing. In the dream world. So real is the dream world, just like here, that answers to your occult questions in this regard will be found. Okay, so the technique of reality checking. Now, despite the garb, you asked a couple of questions, you know, some techniques, and then how is it used to magic? We're getting there. Okay, despite the garb, I don't spend a whole lot of time doing ritual work at all. I spend a whole lot of time playing mental games, okay? Reflecting, determining if I'm honest with myself, which more often than not, I'm not being honest with myself. That's the truth, okay? So when we're talking about lucid dreaming and occult and sorcery, this reality becomes very apparent. In a lucid dream, it's just like me going to Jake's house and walking around and then going back to my house. I was there. It was an experience. It was real. Now, there are those authors like Graham Hancock that suggest, you know, this is all real in some sort of way, and then there are the secular scientists that will tell you you can't have a lucid dream without a body. The other side of that is you don't need a body to experience a full-on reality like a solid lucid dream. Okay, so we have two sides of the coin. One side says if you don't have a brain and a body, you're not going to experience the lucid dream. The other side says it's quite obvious that you don't need a brain and a body to experience some sort of three-dimensional or perceivable, even to your hands and to your senses, universe. And with this knowledge, unprovable to you as it may be, I have been able to use this and go far in manipulating this reality. Ritual magic in the dream, something Dr. Rory talks about. Okay, Dr. Rory believes that this world is all language. That without language, we would have nothing. So in the dream world, he believes it's necessary for you to use your language like some sort of poem or something like that to cast your mental spell for the desired outcome. He seems to have success with that. He's a great man, and I respect him. For me, I don't really do too much of that. For me, I spend a lot of time in the dream attempting to manifest in the dream world what I want to have happen here by thinking the same thoughts that I would think in the awake world, since I'm at the point in my life where I cannot decide if I'm awake or asleep, truly. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. It's like that movie Inception. I haven't gone that far yet, but those people that are asleep, you know, they come back to so-called reality to wake up. Isn't that what they said? You can get that. I don't know if there's a clinical diagnosis or some sort of state of being, but that's the reality you could be. So when you go into these dream worlds, it's going in there with this idea that you can manipulate this reality. It's going in there with this idea, a magical technique of knowing that all of us in this room have no more or no less than what's here. That's why I don't know anything about these gods and these other traditions. I don't deny their existence, or I don't deny the archetype that they stand for, but I can tell you nothing of how they've influenced my life. But I can tell you I have influenced everything in my life. I can tell you that with absolute certainty. And because of that, that is something you can take into your dreamscape. Influence it that way, because if you're thinking about it, it's all the same, only supposedly you don't have a body in your dream. It's maybe happening in your head. But it's that knowing that this is a real place. And those of you who wake up from a lucid dream know that when you wake up in one instant, it was like you were somewhere else. It was like you were just somewhere else. And that is where I believe miracles came from, if there are such a thing. I believe that is somebody's advanced knowledge to tighten these two worlds together somehow in a fashion I cannot tell you. I don't know the technique, but I believe if you can bring the day mind and the dreaming mind closer together, as I attempt to do, this reality becomes more ridiculous. Now, I have to say this, though. All the material gain, all the positive mental attitude, I experienced very recently a significant loss. There was nothing could do to stop it, essentially. That stuff is going to happen. Why it happens, what it means, reincarnation, etc., is not my place to say. But it is important to relay to you that I went the better part of the last 5 years with nothing but awesome, excellent things happening to me. And then there was this loss, a sudden shock, something that almost brings you back from this lofty occult mindset and brings you almost back to square one and reminds you nobody here is getting out alive. Or are we? But for the most part, nobody here is getting out alive. And I thought to myself, where does this fit into the occult mindset, this death? And why did it happen? And all of those things. Because I realized the fact of the matter is it's not preventable. There's nothing I can do about it. It happened. Okay? But the one solace, the one comfort that I take is slowly developing this new program, as we talked about here, this new program through DMT and through lucid dreaming, that there might very possibly be something else out there. I'm not saying a soul or God, certainly not. But it certainly does give me cause to need to study this with an occult mindset. And it's those things I use to answer this question about lucid dreaming. For those of you who haven't had a lucid dream, none of that's going to make sense at all. Are there any other questions?
I'm 60 now, and I've been doing this since I was 17. So I've studied pretty thoroughly. The first source for lucid dreaming that became real was Carlos Castaneda with the technique of looking at your hands. Are you, or is anybody else here aware of any antecedent source for this concept? As far as I can determine, it really originated with Castaneda.
Tibetan Buddhism, absolutely. They call it dream yoga. Isn't that correct, Jeremy? And I dare say that Tibetan Buddhism predates Peter Carroll and sigil magic. Right. In the West? In terms of the West, that's a very good question. I don't have an answer of who would have brought it to our awareness before then. However, the most important thing about your statement is that looking at your hands is very, very good. You find yourself in the dreamscape, look down at your hands. The first thing that I do in a dreamscape is, it's so real, people. It is so real. I just can't use these pathetic English words to communicate anything to you the way this really is. But I look at my hands, just as this gentleman was stating, Carlos Castaneda or not, it doesn't matter. This is my dream. And I look at my hands, and I usually touch my body, and I cannot believe I feel the ribs. I'm almost always dressed in some sort of nonsense. I don't know who picks my clothes out. I don't own these clothes. Shorts and T-shirts, barefoot, most of the time, running all over the dreamscape. But looking at your hands is very, very, it's a very good tip. I found myself doing that. And it wasn't really until this moment. I don't know anything about Carlos Castaneda. I know he's an author, okay, and I know that he's written a number of books, more than 3 or 4. But thank you for pointing that out, because it reminds me that that's a very powerful experience. Look at your hands, and every single time I'm like, oh my God, we made it, like we made it through, and here we are again. And I start looking around, and I touch things. I've walked across grass barefoot, and I can feel and hear that grass sort of soft, audible crunching underfoot. You know what I'm talking about? Very good. Good statement. Anyone else? Question? There was another question from over here. What was that?
Yeah. Is freaky. I take it that at some point when you really get into it, you can't distinguish between a lucid dream and quote-unquote normal waking state. Doesn't that get kind of weird?
Oh, it absolutely gets weird.
Because the definition of, I come to a psychology background, mental health. The definition of psychosis is that you cannot distinguish what is real from what is not.
Okay.
Now, that's
Yeah.
a very, I mean, that's scientific, but not in the sense that you mean scientific. That's a very medical model kind of, rational type of description. But however, if you get to a point where you're lucid dreaming like all the time, I mean, wouldn't that be tantamount to lucid dreaming all the time, where you cannot tell that, for example, right this very second, you are lucid dreaming?
Oh, I can tell right now, this very second.
How do you tell the difference?
Very good question. At this time, I am very much aware that I could leave the front door of the Marriott and get destroyed by a car, suffer, drowned in my own blood. I understand that this is where I am right now. The model you're talking about, if you mix that model you're talking about with anything that I said and thought they were two different things, let me clarify. This scientific model you're talking about is the best model we have so far to determine what's real and what isn't. What I'm suggesting really at this point in stage is when you first wake up from a lucid dream, in this split moment, this very brief second, you know unequivocally, and it's not something that I can't help you out here, but I can tell you unequivocally, you know you were somewhere else. Now, there's a quote, allow me to plagiarize, because I don't know who said it, and it says, the schizophrenic and the shaman swim in the same sea. The difference is the shaman knows how to swim back home. Does anyone know who said that? Okay, good. I think I'm covered as long as I say I plagiarized it, right? Okay, but your question is very valid. Right now, I understand that this is the quote-unquote real world, but through these experiences, I am of the opinion, personal opinion, that is debatable, unlike some of the things I said, this is debatable, that when we die, it is very conceivable we might wake up and feel like that was a dream, this was a dream. I don't know. Occult science topic for the rest of my life. Great question. Good points.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So the yoga is sleep. And Tibetan practice is to be able to control your dreaming as you control your waking. So you're talking about just experiencing lucid dreaming. But in the practice of yoga and sleep, you're actually controlling your lucid dreaming. So that either when you're awake or asleep, you are in control of your actions. So how would you apply that to lucid dreaming? Or is it two different things?
Perhaps I'm not understanding the question. You're talking about...
So when you talk about lucid dreaming, you're talking about experience. Right?
Yes.
In yoga and sleep, the experiences are to be controlled.
Yes.
By personal experience. That's the whole point of yoga.
Right.
So that you're controlling your reality when you're awake.
Right.
Controlling your reality when you're asleep.
Exactly this.
Am I destroying what you're saying?
No, you're making a point I feel like I didn't make. This man has said more than I've said, really, in the last 10 minutes. Very good. That's exactly the point. You're controlling this world in your sleep, and his statement was, controlling this world, is it tantamount or comparable to controlling this world in your sleep or awake? Very good. Anyone else? Is that it?
Once you are lucid, what are the things that you specifically did that gave you the greatest results?
Do you mean magically?
Yes.
Specifically, mine isn't so much, my lucid dreaming experience isn't so much about what I do in the dream. It's continually having lucid dreaming experiences, and for me, expanding that 60 seconds or 120 seconds or 90 seconds of time, whatever the case may be, of that split moment where I'm in absolute shock and awe of this reality. For me, that's where I like to focus a lot of my attention. But specifically, as opposed to Dr. Rory, I'm able to attempt to contrive the three-dimensional situations in my dream world as we are here. My mind does the best to, let's say, construct the Marriott, right? Only I don't know exactly what the Marriott looks like, but I know what an archetypal hotel looks like. For instance, it's the whole deal about archetypes. You know, you see a tree, but you don't see tree-ness. You see a horse, but you don't see horseness. You know, so it leads us to question these relative archetypes. But to answer your question, I spend most of my time attempting to erect physical structures in the dream that represent something that I'm deeply familiar with or would like to see. Like, for instance, the new, let's say it was the new car, all right, which for me it's not, but that's a good one. Chances are I probably already know what that car looks like to a lot of details. I looked at it online, I looked at it in real life, etc., etc. That's a good example. Why I have trouble actually doing some of the other things like flying, as I've said on the radio show before, I don't know if it's normal or not or whatever, but you try to fly, I don't fly very far. Dr. Rory suggests that in reality, I don't believe that I can really fly enough to fly in my dreams. That's his advice. But that's a very good question. I attempt to manifest the actual desires, like see it come out of the ground or see it appear in that area. Sometimes it will appear off in the distance in the dreamscape and we'll be missing some sort of element, like the whole building is complete but it's missing the siding or some ridiculous little, and I said, gosh, well, we can't have any of that, can we? Let's get some siding on this. And I can't explain why this happens, but it does. A lot of incomplete manifestations. And I wonder, though, if this is translating to people's general frustration with incomplete manifestations here in the so-called real world. Anyone else at all?
What is real?
That's the ultimate question. What is real? For instance, I know that I can't grab each one of you by the hand and pull you into this bubble of mine that I so desperately wish I could do. Hop this plane with me because I'm leaving next month on the 7th. Come with me and see that this is real. I want to do that, but what is real after having all these lucid experiences? I think my success as a sorcerer has come between somehow bridging these two worlds together in some sort of way of understanding. There's the creative mind in this real landscape, and then there's this place in this real landscape. For instance, who has had an experience where the adrenaline kicks in and everything goes really, really slowly? Right? That's amazing stuff. That's amazing. It happened to me the other day. It's not a cool story. It's pretty ridiculous. I was outside my home. I was walking around, minding my own business. I was about to go in the door. Some dog, I'm not afraid of dogs at all, some dog barked, right? I didn't even see it, and it scared me to death. And I turned around, and everything became very, very slow. This is the first time in my life I was able to actually stop, be in the so-called New Age present moment, and actually be like, oh my God, we are moving very, very slowly right now. And all right, and it was very real. It was a phenomenon. I can't explain it really, but it was a phenomenon. And then I actually heard myself, in that slow, very present moment. And that was a phenomenon. That's the point that I would make in response to, what is real and what isn't. It's impossible to say what's real. If you were to ask me my deep opinion, the most fantasy idea that I have right now as a person before I eventually depart, I am of the opinion this is not real. That's my opinion right now. Subject to change. Subject to destruction. Complete and total destruction of this idea. But to a certain extent, I don't believe that this is very real. I don't believe in life after death or whatever. I'm working with it. We'll say that. I'm working through these profound psychological experiences. Is that it? There's what is real? Didn't I say that I don't know? That that's the ultimate question? I don't know. What is real? That is the quest, though. I believe, though, that asking this question is really helping me in my mental model of the world. Here's the deal. Here's another thing that occult sorcery doesn't relay enough to you, and there's hors d'oeuvres and whatnot waiting for you. But here's the deal. Which of you is going to stand up and take all of my experiences away from you? Away from me, I'm sorry. Which of you is going to stand up and say, what you just said is all false and it doesn't work, and you're going to undo the last few years of my life, the last 8, 9 of you? Who's going to do it? Okay, good, right? Because you can't. Now, I said on the radio show, this is my line of BS. My line of BS is absolutely working at this moment in time, though. So the question is, though, if I'm giving you my version of insanity, as I probably am right now, my absolute version of insane thoughts, it's working. And that's the only reason why I'm here, to pass it on to you, because I am excited. I'm motivated. And I said to myself, I can't just let this keep happening and not say anything to anybody at all. I'm just not that dude, right? I have to come and tell you about it. I had to share this with you. Is that it? Okay. I believe we have all kinds of hors d'oeuvres waiting for you if you're hungry. It's been a long stretch here. I appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Yes. Okay. I try never to get angry on the show. You know, somebody recently on the show was like, you know, you would do it. You would do it. Here's the deal. The show is my ministry. This is my personal way of taking what's real in my life, and instead of putting it in a book and putting it on the shelves or whatever, just putting it out there as best as I can. Okay, I fund the entire thing myself. And someone said, oh, you would do it because it would make your show big or whatever. I had this rebuttal that suggested I would rather die than have Alex Jones or David Icke anywhere near my radio show. Yeah, perhaps they are. Remains to be seen. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, you know, if the Illuminati was real, first of all, if the Illuminati is real, every single one of us, starting with me, how do I sign up? Hello? All right, everybody else is talking about, no, we don't want any of that. What are you talking about? Are you insane? Have you taken a look around? You think this is fun? You know, the reptilians, or about David, or Alex Jones, if I was the Illuminati, that guy would be my shill. That guy would be the guy working for me. They're not telling us the truth. They're not telling us the truth. That guy never tells us what the truth is. You know, he's worth, you know, 25 million or 16 million or whatever insane it is, something like that. You know, wow, 1%er, right? 1%er. All of his demographic are people that hate the 1%ers. They don't want to be like left-hand path people. We want to make 3 1/4 a year. That's what we want. That's what I want, right? Okay, well, I suppose feel free to rise and move. I'm open for questions. I'm not suggesting. I'm just saying, you know, somebody out there is like, dude, seriously. You know what I mean? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you to Lucian. He is the real deal. He's being really humble here. But he really is the real deal. And he has used sigil